Conflict. Chapter 11. Welcome to the Para-Humans online message boards. You are currently logged in, the Forbidden Gift. Topic, a new thread. Boards disaster in South Africa leaves heavy death toll. White Fairy, original poster, veteran member. Posted on, April 15, 2011. Just posting this as I'm watching the news and compiling more data. There was a huge fight in South Africa just a few minutes ago in between a massive coalition of para-humans and normal soldiers and Aries. First we need some context here. We knew that Moordnag had taken over South Africa, what many predict to be on the 14th, and only allowed the world to know this morning. What we didn't know was that she was not working alone and had the support of an overwhelming amount of para-humans from abroad. Specifically the Yang Ban from Kui and the Red Gauntlet and Elitnaya Armia forces from Russia. All the high-quality footage that you see here and on the news have been recorded and posted on the net by surprisingly a Thandikape from India who has simply named themselves Ankh, Eyes in Hindi. This massive coalition didn't actually fight for the takeover of South Africa but were present there at the time. Many are speculating that they all gathered with the single motive of fighting and killing Aries. This is due to the fact that the first group of villagers who were healed by him were actually found missing during the war in between Moordnag and SA, and were only teleported through portals when the fight in between the coalition and Aries started. You all should have seen the footage by now. It was horrific and brutal. The bloodbath within that force field was something I wish never happened anywhere. And whatever Moordnag turned into, I'm glad that thing is gone because it was larger than any Endbringer till date. It was horrific to watch the beast almost fill up that entire field and eat Aries. Not that it helped the beast as it died quickly after that. The current death toll for Capes is said to be in the hundreds and the soldiers is around the 2000s, it's hard to tell because all that's left of the battlefield is a huge, perfectly circular crater. Aside from the organizations mentioned above, members of the Russian underground Dino were spotted in the battle, as well as a few monstrous Case 53s. The death toll reminds of the aftermath of an Endbringer fight. I really don't know why these groups targeted Aries. His retaliation has left me truly afraid of him. I don't know which is the real Aries anymore, the stoic but helpful hero who healed so many people across the world, or this warrior version of him that just killed thousands and simply flew away. Replied on, April 15, 2011. The footage is so creepy because you can hear nothing through the force field. The silence of the massacre creeps me out the most. Just what is going on with the world? Just what was that thing Moordnag turned into? Is that how Endbringers are made? Or was that some part of her power she never used before? Things are getting so scary around the world that I'm really worried if any conflict is going to head this way. Dimos, Wiki Warrior. Replied on, April 15, 2011. I have chills going down my spine. All that gore and blood in the first few minutes and then that bright light which simply removed everything. This is scary, guys. I don't think I want to see Aries in states anymore. He brings war wherever he goes. Antigone, Cape Groupie. Replied on, April 15, 2011. Every time I rewatch the footage I can't help but think how apt his title is. He truly is a war god. Bloodthirsty too, because I think with his strength he could have captured all of them. Even that thing Moordnag turned into didn't put a scratch on him, yet he still chose to kill all those people. Svoid_cowboys, banned. Replied on, April 15, 2011. He's still a hero, right? I mean, me and my family would be dead without him. It was self-defense, right? Brocktonite03, veteran member. Replied on, April 15, 2011. I don't know what to say, Void, just like the OP I don't know which is the real Aries anymore. Dauntless, verified Cape, Protectorate employee. Replied on, April 15, 2011. I'm having serious goosebumps right now. I just keep thinking back to the day I saw him for the first time. He looked so regretful while looking at the city. Contrasting his image with the news footage, it's like two different people. Glory girl, verified Cape. Replied on April 15, 2011. I'm really scared right now. The fight was barely 5 minutes long, it was like watching Cape's charge at an EB. Aries, please say something. At least tell something about why you did it. White collar, Cape wife. Replied on April 15, 2011. That's the worst part to me about Aries and Scion, they're both so distant, like they're not even humans. I can't help but be afraid that one day they'll just quietly drop in and wipe out anybody they want without even saying anything. Char. Replied on April 15, 2011. Aries, please talk to us. Say something. We don't even know which country you're from, damn it. All this silence is driving me crazy. Reeve, verified PRT agent. Replied on April 15, 2011. To everybody reading this thread. If you ever see Aries in your locality, please inform the PRT immediately. If you are in a situation where you have to interact, please maintain a cordial and respectful tone while talking to him. But your first, second and third option must always be to inform the authorities and not stay in that area any longer. Antigone, Cape groupie. Replied on April 15, 2011. Is he getting a kill order? Reeve, verified PRT agent. Replied on April 15, 2011. Nothing like that, this was a case of self-defense that happened overseas. But we are really trying push for communications with him right now. We just want everybody to be aware just whom they are talking to and not anger him. That would be catastrophic. Ikal. Replied on April 15, 2011. What's the point of putting a kill order on a guy who can do that? He killed Special Forces equivalent of the Cape community. He just showed us all that we are powerless against him if he decides to wipe us out. Unnamed location, Mars. Things were getting worse, thought Pandora as she was watching the reactions of the people all over the world. The sheer cruelty Atrus showed in his fight was making it harder and harder for people to look up to him. She needs to talk with him right now and get to solving this problem before he turns into a complete villain in the eyes of the people. Atrus just reached the Mars base and was floating in carefree. His face was emotionless, as if he just completed a boring chore and wanted to take a break. Pandora interrupted him before he made his way to his room. Atrus? Can we talk? This is really important, she called out through the comms in the base. He simply raised an eyebrow at her tone, it sounded so severe. Was there a shift in the Endbringers? Or maybe Zion was acting erratically? He thought as he made his way to the main hall where they usually discussed all their plans for the threats against them. When he stepped into the room, he saw a beautiful woman, nearly 6 feet tall with soft Greek features. Her hairs were raven black that fell all the way down her back like a waterfall. She was wearing a white and gold Greek dress that reached till the floor. She truly looked beautiful, Aries thought as he greeted her. Pandora, I see that you've decided to take on a physical form, you look beautiful, me friend. So, what did you want to talk about? You sounded quite serious, is this about Zion? He asked as he sat opposite to her, giving his full attention. She reached out her hand and held his hands, looking very solemn. I want to talk about you, Atrus, she said softly, more specifically your behavior and the way you interact with Earth, she said. He narrowed his eyes, pulling his hands back and folding them, not liking where this was heading. What do you mean? I've done nothing to the people, I only fight those that try to harm me first, he said, not understanding the need for this conversation. No. You have created scenarios where conflict was the only thing your opposition would answer your actions with, especially since you know that natural para-humans are hardwired to seek conflict. You keep egging them on, knowing that will retaliate, and your answer to all conflicts are the same, to kill your enemies, she stated, now sitting next to him. He didn't see where this was coming from. They should have some self-preservation instinct if they didn't want to fight, knowing what I can do. What do you mean I manipulate the people to fight me? They strut around as if they are all untouchable, that others won't kill them because of what? The unwritten rules? That piece of garbage exists only to empower the ones who are selfish. I never forced anyone to fight me. And why should I keep my enemies alive, no matter how weak they are? That's just asking for trouble. They'll simply get together and keep coming back until they're put down, he finished with a gleam in his eyes. No, a truce. You could have taken care of Muradnag the moment you felt her take actions against you. You could have captured her days before. But you egged her on, knowing she didn't like you flying around, healing people in Africa. You purposefully allowed her to meet the Kui expecting a good fight. You then went to Russia after killing an S-class threat without any thought of what the government would be feeling seeing such a powerful person simply fly around in their country. You allowed Muradnag to sacrifice thousands of people to her power to see if she could give you a challenge. An entire country was conquered and its people slaughtered and sacrificed because she was scared of you, a truce. I had to beg you to leave Mars and fight them, or else you would have given them even more time. The slaughter you committed during that farce of a fight could have been completely avoided as well. The unpowered soldiers were only there because they had no power to oppose their para-human overlords, and did you show them any mercy? No. You just slaughtered them because you couldn't be bothered to do anything but kill them. We could have healed the Case 53s with our technology, but you wanted to see if they could take a punch from you. We have enough knowledge on shards now that we can strip para-humans of their powers, but did you do that? No. Because you just wanted a fight. She screamed into the silent hall, a truce looking at her with a pale face. He didn't do all that, right? Those were cold-blooded mercenaries who took cash for taking lives. If he let them go, then they could have hurt the people of Africa. He felt that he would be avenging the people killed in the war by putting all of their problem down at once. He wouldn't have to hear about how Africa is just another playground for capes, because now they would be fearful of his retaliation. That's what he thought. It's not like he's a monster, right? Tell her, damn it. So why was his mouth so dry? His throat felt like it was on fire. He tried to form words, but nothing came out. The worst part was that even with all this, his face looked like stone. Like it didn't really care about what Pandora spoke, but his eyes showed her what he was feeling. She looked sadly at him, taking his hands once more, talking to him softly. A truce, when was the last time you slept? Ate something? Watch a movie or a show? Read a book that was unrelated to our work here? Just take a stroll amongst the people in Earth? Or try to make a friend? She questioned him. When was the last time you behaved like a human? She whispered to him with pity in her eyes. A truce moved his neck back as if was struck physically. What was all he could croak out? The people are afraid of you, a truce. No matter how bleak this world is compared to your old one, they have not seen one man crush his opposition so ruthlessly that they can't distinguish the you that saved them all compared to the you who just slaughtered thousands and flew away. They have begun comparing you to the Endbringers now, because you don't seem like you want to bother with them when you heal them or save them. The only time you speak the most is when you cut down humans like nothing. They're afraid that you'll simply fail them, to give them hope when they needed it most, only to take it away ruthlessly, she said, trying to make him understand the severity of the situation. And I think I know what the root of the problem is, she stated with an even voice. She was now treading into very dangerous waters. She needed to help him keep his emotions in check, or things could go very badly. He looked at with desperation in his eyes, wanting to know what he was doing wrong, although his face still looked stone cold. Invictus, she whispered, looking at him cautiously, as he went completely rigid, not moving a single muscle. Since your transfer here you have kept your emotions in check. The only time you've truly felt remorseless was when you destroyed Brockton Bay during your emotional distress, but since that day you've gone completely apathetic. The only reason you saved the villagers was because you didn't want to your effort at healing them go waste, not because you wanted to help them. The whole reason you started healing people was to simply test your powers, not to help. She paused. Do remember after the latest mind meld to share the knowledge you collected from your charges. I asked if your other abilities have any secondary powers. You asked, making him recall that conversation. You said your energy manipulation, ironically called legend, could make you immune to the effects of boredom or isolation for extended periods of time, that it was there to help you travel vast distances in space without losing track of your objectives. She finished as he too recalled telling her that you've been using all these mental effects as a crutch. A truce. She spoke evenly. Humans can't undergo disasters without batting an eye, ignore any amount of pain and remain untouched even through the most dire of circumstances. They can't ignore boredom or isolation to help them robotically stay on one task. That's not how people function, she told him softly. They get hurt, stumble, feel scared and depressed in the face of terror and despair, but that's how they grow up and learn, that's how they move forward. You stopped being human. A truce, that's where the fault lies. You thought you wouldn't have to think about your problems of pain because Invitas would block all the harmful effects. That all you need to concentrate on is getting stronger to fight Zion. You don't do anything for fun because you don't feel bored anymore. Your introvert personality latched onto your immunity from isolation, telling you that it's okay to not bother with people anymore. You don't need to eat, breathe, or learn anything because all of that is already achieved with your absolute condition or can be achieved through inspired inventor. What's the point of mingling with people when they're so beneath you in skill, she stated as she looked him straight in the eyes. Your transfer to this world might have given you a godlike body and powers unmatched by any in this world, one that will only keep growing stronger as time passes on, but the mind within that body is still that of a human's. A mind that brought along a lot of baggage that you never bothered to address because your powers handled them for you, she told him. You knew that your powers will grow in response to conflict, so that's the only thing you concentrated. You never bothered helping anybody because they would all die eventually while you would still be here. That's why you were shocked to hear me ask you if I could save Dragon. You didn't bother find friends because you're scared that they will be used against you or might even betray you. You stopped trying to live after coming a truce, you simply exist. You think that if you take down Zion it should be enough to save the world. The steps that come in between are unnecessary because as long as the entity dies your personal responsibility to Earth-Bet would be completed and you could say that you were the reason the world is still alive, even if the people in it are dying. Her voice rang out in the room. Stop using it, let yourself feel something. A truce. Otherwise it's not the entities this world will have to fear, it's you, she said, looking at him pleadingly. He got up and flew out of the base, ignoring the voice of his only friend. He couldn't hold it in anymore, his emotions wanted to burst out but all his face showed was disinterest. He soon reached Pluto, the only place he could think of to be completely alone. Cold winds beat against his form as he stood on the dead planet, but it was not cold that bothered him. It was his talk with Pandora. He knew that she was right, his own abilities told him that much, but he just ignored it. After all, now he had powers that could take care of his mental issues for him, so why bother? He didn't make any friends because he felt that he would be doing a disservice to memories of his loved ones back home. He could live with being a simple drifter, going from planet to planet, star system to star system, living the ideal wanderer's life. But that's not how it worked, was it? Even wanderers settled down after a while. He was simply fooling himself into believing that he was all right. He kneeled down to the ground as for the first time in days he took in a deep breath and let it out. He slowly began lowering down Invitas and his secondary powers, not expecting the tidal wave of emotions heading his way. Ayahg, he screamed in pain, clutching his head as remembered all the actions he took after coming here, how he treated people like test subjects for his benefit, treating them like trash when all they wished was to communicate with him, and the deaths, oh God, the deaths. His perfect mind recorded each and every micro-expression of every single person that he laid his eyes on, including the victims of his arrogance. His mind betrayed him as he slowly remembered every expression of every person he killed. His vision penetrated through all the obstacles to record the last moments of these people, begging him to let them go, that they will change their ways as he cut through them in a bored manner without a second thought. "Please, I beg you, make it stop," he screamed as he beat his head on the ground of Pluto over and over again, cracking the planet's surface and destroying everything around him. Once the pain in his head subsided a little bit, he lay down in the crater clutching his head. He heard Pandora's soft voice through his suit. "You are an unstoppable force and an immovable object, a truce that applies not only to your body but also to your mind. You will never forget anything you've ever done, whether they are good or bad. Invictus simply stopped you from being human. You need to remember my words, you have to grow stronger and come out of this. I'll be waiting here for you, always," she finished speaking in his ears. The only sounds on the dead planet were that of the cold, harsh whines and weeps of a broken man who couldn't forget anything. Thank for watching.